Imagine pouring your heart and soul into a company for 11 years, building their entire tech empire from nothing, only to be replaced by the CEO's nephew. That's exactly what happened to Derek. But here's the twist. When they thought they could erase him, he had a plan that brought their entire operation to its knees. This is one of the most satisfying revenge stories you'll ever hear. Buckle up. If you've ever been betrayed, underestimated, or pushed aside by someone who thought they could walk all over you, this story's for you. Hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because you're about to witness a masterclass in serving cold, hard justice. Let's dive in. Meet Derek. He's 42, a tech wizard who spent 11 years as the backbone of Riverton Manufacturing, a company running 3 massive production facilities in Milwaukee. When Derek started, their IT systems were a mess. Think Windows XP, passwords scribbled on sticky notes, and a ransomware attack that nearly tanked the company. But Derek, he saw potential. He wasn't just fixing problems. He was building something unstoppable. Derek turned a 5-person help desk into a 30-person powerhouse. He designed networks that kept Riverton's factories running 24/7. When the Northeast blackout hit, every other facility in the region went dark, except Riverton. Derek's systems didn't flinch. The board noticed. The CEO, Preston Campbell, started inviting him to meetings. His budget tripled. At the 2019 Christmas party, the majority owner, Harrison Wells, shook Derek's hand and said, "You turned us into a modern operation. We couldn't have expanded without you." For Derek, this wasn't just a job. It was his life. After his divorce left him sleeping on his brother's couch, Riverton gave him purpose. Those servers, those blinking lights in the server room, they were his. Not legally, but in every way that mattered. He poured his soul into every line of code, every redundancy, every failsafe. He thought he'd found his place. But he was wrong. The first crack appeared last September. A consultant showed up unannounced, poking around Derek's systems, asking basic questions about tech he'd designed. When Derek asked who authorized the audit, the consultant mumbled something about the executive team and dodged the question. Then Derek's access to board meeting minutes vanished. "Server cleanup," the email said. By December, Preston started canceling their weekly briefings with flimsy excuses. At the New Year's leadership retreat, Derek overheard Harrison bragging about his nephew, Nathan, a brilliant kid fresh from MIT, with Silicon Valley companies allegedly fighting over him. Derek brushed it off. Loyal to a fault, his ex-wife used to say. But deep down, something felt wrong. His right-hand woman, Vanessa, confirmed it. She'd been invited to a strategic planning session, one Derek should have led. When she mentioned his name, Preston changed the subject. "Something's off," she warned. "They're planning around you." Then came the lunch. Maxwell's, a fancy restaurant with white tablecloths and overpriced steak. The kind of place where executives impress clients, not fire loyal employees. But that's exactly what Preston had planned. Over lunch, he dropped the bomb. "Derek, you've been invaluable, but we're going in a different direction. We need fresh perspectives." Translation? Harrison's nephew Nathan was taking over. A kid with a shiny MIT degree and 0 real-world experience. "Brilliant kid. Specialized in digital transformation," Preston said, cutting into his steak like he wasn't gutting Derek's career. Derek's heart pounded, but he kept his cool. He sipped his water, forced a smile, and asked, "Who's handling the transition?" Preston looked relieved, like he'd expected a scene. 6 weeks, he said. "We'll announce after the quarterly all-hands." Before dessert arrived, Preston slid an NDA across the table. Derek signed it, shook his hand, and said, "I understand. Business decisions, right?" But Derek wasn't fooled. He'd seen the signs for months. And that night, back at his desk, he confirmed his suspicions. His admin credentials had been downgraded. His name was already scrubbed from the leadership team's email chain. They'd decided to replace him weeks, maybe months ago. Worse, Derek had noticed something in the server logs. 3 months earlier, unauthorized access, attempts from an IP address on the executive floor. Someone was poking around his systems, his documentation, his life's work. They weren't just replacing him, they were stealing from him. That night, Derek couldn't sleep. Not from anger, though it burned in his chest like a hot coal. Not from fear of finding a new job, but from a memory that kept replaying the day his ex-wife Ellie left him. 7 years of building a life together, then divorce papers on the kitchen counter. "We want different things," she'd said. No warning, no fight. Just done. Now. Riverton was doing the same thing, discarding him after he'd given everything. The betrayal crystallized when Nathan, the nephew, showed up in the server room. Clean-cut, expensive watch, casual confidence. He couldn't have been older than 30, getting the lay of the land. Nathan said, strolling in like he already owned the place. Preston mentioned you'd be showing me around soon. Derek's jaw tightened, but he played along. Nathan had the nerve to call Derek's systems old school while admitting he'd been studying Derek's documentation for weeks. And the kicker? Nathan already had top-level admin access, granted before Derek's lunch with Preston. Oh, and Nathan? He wasn't just replacing Derek. He was fishing for criticism, scheduling one-on-one evaluations with Derek's team to see who he could keep or cut. He even tried to reverse-engineer Derek's custom monitoring system, causing 3 production alerts to be missed, and costing the company $40,000 in downtime. Vanessa, Derek's loyal deputy, whispered to him later, I think I'm next. Nathan's asking if my role is even necessary. That's when Derek's resolve hardened. He wasn't going to let them dismantle his legacy. He met Luis, his trusted coder, at a coffee shop at 6:30 a.m. They're phasing me out, Derek said, his voice steady but his knuckles white around his coffee cup. Luis nodded, unsurprised. They've been asking me to explain your systems for weeks. Derek leaned forward, his voice low. They think everything's in the documentation, but we both know it's not. See, Derek had built proprietary tools, workarounds and patches that weren't in any manual. His system sync interface, the backbone of Riverton's operations, was his creation, developed before he joined the company. He'd licensed it to Riverton, not sold it, and now they were trying to claim it as their own, even signing deals to transfer his integrations to a third-party vendor, Nathan's former classmate no less. They weren't just replacing Derek, they were looting him, selling his work to pad their acquisition deal with TechCore Industries, a conglomerate looking to buy Riverton. Darren, an old network security buddy, dug up the truth. The acquisition hinged on Derek's systems, specifically System Sync, which was listed as a key asset in the valuation. Meanwhile, Preston and Harrison were set to get golden parachutes and cushy executive roles at TechCore. Derek, he was just collateral damage. Derek's plan came together in the server room, the hum of his machines grounding him. He worked late, his fingers flying over the keyboard, transferring his original code to a secure off-site server. He filed provisional patents on System Sync's critical components, documenting every email, every agreement, proving he'd built it before Riverton. Then, using credentials Luis had saved, Derek made his move. He updated System Sync with a digital signature, verification, and a license set to expire in 8 days, the day after his official departure. It wasn't sabotage. It was protection. On his last day, Derek turned in his badge, signed the exit paperwork, and declined the fake celebration lunch Nathan had planned. Preston barely nodded as they passed in the hallway. 11 years reduced to a glance. But Derek wasn't done. He'd sent one final email to his private server verification sequence. Alpha 7 complete. The countdown had begun. Monday morning, 9:17 a.m., Riverton's production. Floor shifted to peak operation. Then, every instance of System Sync across their 3 facilities froze. A single message flashed on every screen. License expired. Please contact the developer to renew. By 9:20, the first production line stopped. By 9:45, all 3 facilities were offline. At 10:30, Preston called Derek, his voice trembling with barely concealed panic. What the hell did you do? He demanded. I didn't do anything, Derek said. The software license expired. Check the original agreement. Clause 7. Riverton was licensing System Sync, not owning it. I'm happy to discuss renewal terms. Preston screamed about sabotage, but Derek held firm. It's business, he said, echoing Preston's own words. By 3:00 p.m., Riverton's lawyers had reviewed Derek's documentation. By 5:00 p.m., they signed a new licensing agreement, full recognition of Derek's ownership, proper compensation, and an NDA about his departure. The factories roared back to life. But the real payoff came later. TechCore, the acquiring company, invited Derek to consult on the integration, offering twice his old salary and full control. Nathan quietly transitioned out after clients, threatened to pull contracts over system failures. Preston kept his CEO title but was sidelined at TechCore, a figurehead with no real power. Derek didn't set out to destroy anyone. Justice isn't about revenge, it's about knowing your worth and refusing to let anyone take it from you. Derek's story reminds us, the systems we build, the ones that outlast us, are the ones that matter. If this story gave you chills, he just wanted what was his. A comment. What's the most satisfying revenge you've ever witnessed? Subscribe and hit the bell for more stories of justice served cold. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Smash that like button and drop.